Yo, what's up everybody, it's Tuna. So many of you are probably still looking for a League starter for the 3.22 season, and this video is intended for you. This is a top 10 compilation of the builds that I consider to be the strongest, the easiest to put together, able to get you to the point where you're completing all of your watchstones, and excel at both trade and softcore. Now this wouldn't be a League starter build list if I didn't include Pox's RF. This is because this build has one of the most extensive libraries of information, as well as a very helpful content creator backing it. That is Pox himself, of course, and he has time and time again proven that the build excels in both softcore scenarios in SSF, as well as the potential to also take this into hardcore, of course. It's been one of the most popular League starts now for the past few seasons. The build has just been progressively getting improved. It really excels in mapping, and it's also very good at that sort of making a character easy to build and essentially tank bosses as well. Its bossing damage is going to be relatively low, however, because of the fact that you can actually face tank most abilities, it's a good build to sort of learn all the mechanics and things like that. And one of the best builds, in my opinion, in general, to take down bosses with if you're a new player. Because you're able to sort of observe its mechanics, as well as, you know, it's quite graceful in the fact that you don't really have to dodge everything, you know, you're able to tank that kind of stuff. The second build I wanted to talk about is the Detonate Dead Elementalist. This build video has been posted by Zizarin. This is what is likely going to be the build that will kill all the Uber bosses in SSF Hardcore this season in the Uber Boss Kill event. And that is because it scales extremely well with corpse HP, and that currently is, in my opinion, quite overpowered. Essentially, what players do is they leverage that to be able to scale their damage exponentially by investing into that. Not only that, it's very easy to gear, and it's going to be quite good at mapping as well because of ignite proliferations, and excellent at bossing, as well as being extremely tanky and have pretty good damage uptime because of the fact that you're applying ignites and dealing a substantial amount of damage. So if you're looking for a build that will both excel at SSF Softcore and SSF Hardcore, I think this is one of the best builds that you could choose. And is very cookie cutter and also very easy to level. So if you do want to actually look at what the build is like and know more about it, make sure to check out Zizarin's guide, as it is very detailed and it provides you with all the information you need to actually succeed. The next build I'd like to talk about is one of my favorite builds in the game, and a build guide that I have made myself and written on the max roll as well as provided a YouTube video for you guys to check out. That is the Impending Doom Pathfinder. In my opinion, the Impending Doom Pathfinder is just by far the most comfy and best mapping poison build in the game. And currently this season, with the return of the Balance of Terror unique jewel, you're going to be getting a substantial amount of damage, which is going to offset Temporal Chains nerfs altogether. And on top of that, you know, you're going to be rebuilding the build in a certain way that essentially will become extremely tanky through the use of Pathfinder flasks, as well as physical damage taken as elemental, which is further then mitigated by your flasks. This build is slightly complicated to start, but once you understand the base mechanics, which are explained both in the guide as well as in the video, you will basically have everything you need to excel at both starting in SSF and also in Trade League. However, keep in mind that the build is unlocked by the Vixen's Entrapment unique gloves. The next League starter that I wanted to talk about is the Lightning Arrow Deadeye, which is a build that I've written on max roll as well as provided a YouTube video. So this is one of those builds that is going to excel at mapping. It is very, very fast through the campaign as well. So if you're looking for something to stay ahead of the curve and farm all of the mapping mechanics such as legions and whatnot, this is the build that you're looking for. The downside of it, of course, is that it's a little bit squishy since you are playing as a ranged character. It does have plenty of evasion, so you are basically not taking much damage from attacks, and you're spell suppressing as well on top of that. However, it is prone to getting one shot from time to time. So if you're looking for a very tanky build, this is not it. However, if you are looking for a very fast build that can basically pretty much complete your Atlas faster than any other build, look no further. The Lightning Arrow Data is the best. And it's also a very fun build, of course, but that's subjective. And it will be my League starter in the 3.22 expansion. So the next build I want to talk about is Palstron's Toxic Rain Ballista character. This is a build that he has played last season and has also been updated for the 3.22 expansion. If you wish to look at his written guide, you can find that on max roll, or he's got a very handy YouTube video as well that you can check out for all the information that you need. But this is going to be a build that is better at doing single target damage compared to its bossing damage. However, it also does pretty well at mapping, as you can see here on the screen. Another upside of this build, of course, is that you are gaining a ton of damage reduction through being a Pathfinder and its flasks, as well as the potential to then further scale the build into endgame and do all the Uber bosses, because it has you know, very high scaling in the endgame through both scaling projectile damage as well as chaos damage over time, and using Wilma's Requital to get additional attack and cast speed, which scales all of your, basically your Ballista attack speed. So next, the Bone Shatter Juggernaut is the build that I consider to be one of the best League starters for both SSF, Trade, and SSF Hardcore. This build has time and time again proven its efficiency at both clearing all of the bosses as well as the Atlas, and it is really, really fast going through maps, thanks to its stunning mechanic and AoE component of the Bone Shatter gem itself. This build can be played on both Slayer and Juggernaut, and if you wish to look at a handy guide with everything that you need to know about it, Tripolar Bear has written one for the max roll. Make sure to check that out if you wish to know any more info about it, and it's one of the builds that I consider to be the best melee build currently in the game. One of the ones that I would want to play myself, as the clear is fantastic. However, its bossing damage is quite low, so keep that in mind. If you do wish to take down bosses, this is not the build for you. The Cold Out Elementalist I consider to be one of the most well-rounded builds currently as a League starter, as it can excel at all scenarios in the game, and it can do bosses very efficiently, as well as clear maps too. It is what I consider to be a jack of all trades, and the only downside of it is that you do have quite a bit of buttons. You click to basically give your the maximum DPS output for the build. However, you do not need to actually click all those buttons while you're mapping, and it is only there for when you actually want to do effectively the highest DPS that you potentially can. It is a build that can be played on in all game modes. So if you are starting in any of those leagues and wish to have a build that is well-rounded and easy to play and put together, look no further. The Cold Dot Elementalist is the build. On top of that, there's also a very handy video from Tripolar Bear, as well as a max roll guide that you can follow. If you have any questions, you can always check those out, and it should answer all of your questions. It has been quite a while since we included a mines build into one of our top 10 videos, but the Hexblast Mine is going to be a very, very cool build to play this league. Because of the return of some of the Sanctum uniques as well, it's going to be even stronger in late game, thanks to the critical strike it gets from the Sandstorm Visage. And this build has now also a guide that has been put out by Zizarin in collaboration with Palstron, so all of the information that you need to excel with this build is going to be provided there. I consider this build to be more suitable for softcore trade because it is quite reliant on specific uniques to be able to actually explode the hexes on the enemies. But once you have those uniques, the build pretty much kicks off the ground. It's really, really easy to put together. It's going to do very, very well at bosses, as well as pretty decently well at maps. And it's also a build that is extremely easy to level through the campaign, and it's also decently fast once you do get it going. I would consider it to be one of the new flavors of the league, and something that you should look out for if you like the mine playstyle. Keep in mind that you do not have to spam click your Detonate Mines. You can just put that on left click. So basically it's like playing any self-caster build. You are throwing a ton of mines every time you right click, and the mines are going to be exploding. So yeah, there's no carpal tunnel going on there, nothing to worry about. Just put Detonate on left click and you're just throwing mines and everything blows up. That's basically the gameplay. Also, one thing to note on the screen is you can see that compared to other mines, it has pretty insane AoE. So once you scale the damage, everything on your screen should blow up pretty much instantly in a very satisfying manner. So one of the highest recommended builds of this league for sure. Now, this is another staple build, one that I actually, designed a long time ago and is now sort of been meta for quite some time. It is the Explosive Arrow Elementalist, as well as the Champion. What you're seeing on screen here is Zizarin's video about the Champion variant. The build has so much damage that honestly you could play it on almost any Ascendancy. It is very good at clearing because of Ignite Proliferation. And on top of that, since you are able to play it on the Champion, you can become extremely tanky, to the fact that you gain Fortify and all of those kinds of things. However, if I was playing softcore trade, I would rather play the Elementalist version of it because it has substantially more damage. It's gonna do very, very good at bossing and decently well at mapping as well. Some of the downsides of it, of course, is that since you are playing a Ballista build, it's not going to have crazy recovery, but it's sort of made up for by the fact that you are playing a Ballista build, so you can play quite defensively. And also on top of the fact that you deal so much damage that everything should be melting on your screen pretty much instantly as soon as your ballistas shoot. Keep in mind though that there is quite a delay on your damage, so you're putting your ballista down and then your ballista shoots, and once your arrows explode then everything should die. But before that, things are on your screen and they're not exactly dying. So you do have to build a defense on this character. You can't get by without doing any of that kind of stuff. Keep that in mind. But still, it's one of the builds that I consider to be one of the best now for quite some time, and it wouldn't be really a top 10 League starter build video if I didn't include this. So So if you wish to know more about this build, make sure you check out Scissorin's video or Palstron's guide on max roll, as it should provide all of the information you need to get this build together in Trade League and SSF softcore. The last build on the list is going to be the Corrupting Fever Champion, and this build is one of the builds also that's been around for quite some time. Originally developed by Rue and now has been, sort of being widespreadly appreciated and loved by the community. It is one of those builds that is going to be extremely good at clearing. As you can see on the screen, you're playing with Kinetic Blast and Endgame, and when you shoot, your whole screen melts and explodes thanks to bleed explosions. The unique gloves are going to give you that sort of very satisfying clear. And this scales also really well into endgame because it's a physical spell skill gem, so it scales extremely well with gem levels as well as damage over time and physical damage. So essentially, yeah, you'll be able to scale this into endgame and do all kinds of content that maps, basically ask of you. So any sort of delirium content, that kind of stuff. This build is insane at that, so it's going to clear maps extremely well. However, if you do want to do bosses, you got to be mindful that this build is not very good at bosses. It does have Reap and Val Reap. Val Reap was an addition that came a couple leagues ago that is going to give you an insane amount of single target damage boost, but it's still not going to be one of the builds that I would consider to be, good when it comes to bossing and single target damage. But on mapping, it's almost pretty much, it goes neck and neck with the Lightning Arrow, Deadeye, and it's honestly really, really good as well. So keep that in mind if you do want a mapping build that is very fast and can scale from early game all the way into end game. The Corrupting Fever Champion is definitely one to look out for. So that concludes my top 10 League Starter list. I hope you have found this video helpful, and that I hope you have found like a League Starter that you want to actually, play. And unfortunately, the meta has been a little bit stagnant for the past few leagues. Let's just say there hasn't been an insane amount of new League Starters being introduced, because I feel like GGG has been a little bit reluctant on buffing or nerfing certain things. But, we should probably see a pretty big meta shift in this league because the new support gems are actually quite good. There are some things that I consider that are going to be quite insane later on, but I don't think any of those things are really safe enough to recommend to people as League Starters. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to keep up with sort of some of the meta stuff and changes that are going to be happening this league, I'm going to be covering some of that on this channel. So if you do wish to know more about it, like builds and things like that, that is my passion in Path of Exile. Drop a follow or subscribe to the YouTube. Drop a follow on Twitch or subscribe to the YouTube here for more of that stuff. So yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you guys again soon. And yeah, I really wish you guys a good 3.22 league start. You guys are the best. I appreciate every single one of you. Good luck, boys. See you soon.